You may as well save it if you can. I mean, if nothing happens, nothing. There's no harm done, so may as well, right?
Pretty good consensus there. Then they kind of spread out, but notice they all can continue to push this thing more towards the north and then eventually towards the north and east as we go into Monday. So our forecast model lines up pretty well with this storm. We're not going to see rain today. We're going to see the warm weather, but we are seeing some high clouds out there. It's going to continue to be warm. Starting to see a little bit of rain, maybe it looks like, as we go through time here. This will be tomorrow afternoon. A couple of rain bands kind of move on through, and then here comes the showers and thunderstorms Saturday morning potentially, and then the Saturday evening as well. And notice this forecast track. This is a track from the Hurricane Center. It lines up pretty well with our in-house forecast model. As the rain continues to move across the area, it looks like even into Sunday morning. So here are some of the key features, or key messages, I should say, still haven't changed since 11 o'clock this morning. Life-threatening impacts include storm surge along our coast, in particular Georgetown, Horry County, up towards North Carolina, obviously. Hurricane-force winds areas as well, and Florence is expected to slow down as it moves inland and bring us some rain, river flooding, and there will be that potential for some tropical storm force winds where that tropical storm watch is in effect, including Lee, Clarendon, and Sumter County. So not a lot has changed really with the forecast. The thinking is still the same. We'll just continue to watch it as it starts to play out over the next couple of days. Guys?
Thank you, Daniel.
All right, this is our helpline. We've already opened it up. 647-0299. 647-0299 is the number to call. If you're at home watching right now, you have some questions. We have people on standby. We're going to do the very best we can to answer whatever question you have about this storm. So we've opened up these phone lines a little earlier today. They're going to be open until, I believe, 8 o'clock tonight, maybe later if need be. But right now, that number is 647-0299.
This is a team effort. You know, the folks that you're seeing right now on your screen in that help desk, they work in our sales department, and we've had some folks from our marketing department as well. And I also want to make one more point about that. Dr. Macy P. Smith is an expert when it comes to areas of dealing with our adult parents who...
Oh, it's a marine life. That fish.
And AccuWeather also sharing this video of the conditions at Topsail Island today. Some pretty incredible video of the large, angry waves there at Topsail Island. Take a look at the drone video here of those roaring waves as they slam into the dunes. Those oceanfront homes just feet away from the waves now.
And we are here in the Raleigh First Alert Storm Center as our coverage of Hurricane Florence continues.
The storm now rocking the Carolina coast, as you've seen from those pictures. So, Chris, is the path any clear at this hour?
It's not the same. You know, we'll get a new update from the Hurricane Center coming up in just a little bit, Amber and Joel, but it really doesn't look like there will be any changes to that forecast. A very slow move off the coast, and looks like we're going to see that continue slowly for the next few days as the storm makes its way very, very slowly towards the west across the region. There it is off the coast again. The good news that it has weakened, continued. It did not strengthen back into a Category 4, which just highlights the uncertainty in intensity forecast. Remember, a couple of days ago, the Hurricane Center had this in this spot, but as a Category 4 hurricane, so we're thankful for that. It's not very well organized, you see on satellite pictures. Winds at 105, though, still a Category 2, and a Category 2 can do a lot of damage, especially a slow-moving one, especially one that has pulled up so much water as a Category 3 or 4, so the storm surge is going to be higher than a Category 2 storm. But there's the track again. Tomorrow morning, still approaching the coast, south coast there. There's Bald Head Island. There's the South Carolina border. Somewhere between, anywhere there, a little bit north, a little bit south. Continues moving westward, weakening, though. By Saturday morning, though, could still be a tropical storm approaching Columbia. And then look at this odyssey through East Tennessee, up into West Virginia and parts of Pennsylvania. It'll be out of our hair by then, although we may see some lingering showers or storms. This is sort of an outer bands of rain that are coming across the region. There are pockets of heavier rain here and there, but nothing of any wind concern right now. There's a look at First Alert Radar, Doppler radar. This is out of Morehead City, and there's a pretty well-defined center there. Look at the very heavy rain swirling on shore, about 98 miles off the coast at this point. This is a look at Atlantic Beach. Power's still up there, but you see the rough seas out there and that storm surge easily going to overtake the beaches later on tonight and during the day tomorrow. This is our in-house model of tracking the storm, and you see as we head through this evening, there'll be some showers around here, but the heavy rain really won't get going potentially until sometime tomorrow morning and late tonight, tomorrow morning. On this track, our model keeps the heaviest rain south of the triangle, but the areas that we're most concerned about, again, Cumberland, Sampson counties towards the South Carolina border, extremely heavy rain. There'll be some heavy rain in the triangle. This is tomorrow evening, so it continues into Saturday. This is midday, still heavy rains. Going to be a two-day event with this, with the heavy rain threat. Finally, we get into Sunday, and it begins to move into the upstate of South Carolina, and some of the rain, this is just after midnight, begins to move on out, and we see some improvement as we head into the day on Sunday. The pockets of heaviest rain should go off to the west. So again, it looks like now 3 to 5 potentially near the Virginia border. Some of this could change. We're following basically the National Weather Service on this, a few tweaks from Steve Stewart and Brittany Bell and I, but overall about the same. 5 to 10 inches in that area between the Sandhills and the Triangle, and the heaviest amounts of all these would be on the southern end. So 10 to 15 potentially around Fayetteville, Sampson County. You get into southern Sampson County, you may be approaching 20 inches. So again, those impacts, the lightest to the north, you get into the Triangle, a moderate impacts with winds that could gust to 45, maybe 50, 6 to 8 inches of rain potentially. You get down here into the parts of the Sandhills over towards Wilson and Tarboro, gusts of 50 could be an elevated impact there, high impacts to life and property potentially threatening with some flash flooding for sure, and then extreme impacts down around Fayetteville and in Sampson County, especially with Goldsboro winds that could gust to about 70 miles per hour, is going to cause potentially widespread power outages. And here we go with that track again, which takes it across South Carolina, just a different view there, but as it moves right over Columbia, up into East Tennessee, and then eventually out of our way. It'd be good riddance to that by then, for sure. Everybody will be ready for it to go. This is a rough estimate of the size. You see, from one cloud end to the other, it doesn't include all bad weather in this by any stretch. 560 miles, you can drive from Savannah up to the Virginia border, and it's not even that big of a stretch. So a huge storm size-wise. Flash flood watches up through Saturday, Triangle southward for that excessive rain. There's the tornado watch right now east of us, but that could change. Probably some areas getting under a tornado watch. So let's look at the wind gusts now. This is this evening. Not going to see huge problems. Some gusts up to 40. Here's the center of the storm, and notice we get into tomorrow morning, and those gusts start to get up to 50 miles per hour potentially as we get into tomorrow across the Sandhills, potentially 60, staying around 30 to 40, maybe a gust of 50 in the Triangle. Depends on just how far south it goes, but by far the biggest threat for wind gusts to near 70 is going to be across the Sandhills as that storm slowly moves westward. The tornado impact again is going to stay mainly during the day tomorrow and then lessen as we get into Saturday. High winds, a pretty good bet, especially south. The flooding threat very high as we get to the south as well. This is
scenario. This water is through the first floor of your home into the second. You can see there's fish floating around in here. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. So if you find yourself here, please get out. If you're told to go, you need to go. Listen to those local officials and make sure you heed the advice if told to do so.
It is a live view of New Bern, North Carolina, where the waves and the water keeps on creeping more and more on shore. Before we were able to see those benches near the bottom of your screen. Now they're covered up.
We're still ahead here at 4.
And as we go to break, here's a live look at Bullhead Island in Brunswick County. There it is. Waves getting rougher. Seas really turning up now as Hurricane Florence makes its move towards the Carolinas. It is getting closer, traveling at 105 miles an hour right now, west-northwest, looking to make landfall somewhere along the south-north Carolina coast. About 8 a.m. tomorrow.
This portion of 80 cone. All the wetness stays inside, not on your floor. Amazing! The secret is Betterbrella's smart redesign of the traditional umbrella. We turned it upside down and inside out, making it easier to use and much more practical. So now it's super simple to get in and out of.
Extreme meteorologist Ray Timmer, who is hunkered down now on North Topsail Beach. He will be reporting for the AccuWeather Network as Florence nears the North Carolina coast tonight. All right, the northwest movement continues, although we're looking In the last couple of hours, I've seen more of a movement to the west, more than northwest. But here's the latest with Florence. It's located inside a mile to the east-southeast of Wilmington, North Carolina. Maximum sustained winds at 105 miles per hour. The speed, when I came in this morning, it was 15, 16 miles per hour to the northwest. That speed has slowed to about 10 in the last several hours. I want to show you Futurecast. Watch the eye of Florence start to move toward the North Carolina. So we've been talking about a slowdown for days, and here it is. Now this is 8 o'clock in the morning, right near Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina. That is just to the east of Wilmington. That's where we think there will be a landfall as Florence continues to slowly push in. Now the worst of the conditions are going to be on the northern side of Florence. That's going to include North Topsail, Topsail Beach, Atlantic Beach, Emerald Isle. Also, there's going to be a big problem at Cape Lookout, North Carolina, and even once you get toward Nags Head, Cape Hatteras, there's going to be a pretty big impact with the storm as well. It's a very large storm, and we've seen that the tropical storm force conditions extend well away from the storm center. Now, the concern is on the northern side, right in that purple area, you're looking at wind gusts up over 100 miles per hour, and there's going to be a prolonged period of hurricane force wind gusts and also just pounding and destructive waves. Look at those waves already from Virginia Beach. In fact, you're getting some higher waves all the way toward Ocean City, Maryland. The highest waves from about Cape Hatteras, Nags Head, down toward North Topsail Beach, North Carolina. All right, this is the area I'm most worried about. There's going to be extensive beach damage, I think, probably from about Virginia Beach on south. The area I'm really concerned about is the red, especially south of Nags Head and that area extending toward Cape Lookout, Emerald Isle, Atlantic Beach, towards Surf City, Topsail Beach, and even Wrightsville Beach because of the destructive waves and the extreme rainfall. I want to talk about the rainfall in green. Heaviest rain in that dark green, including Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, extending back toward Columbia, South Carolina. Look at that AccuWeather storm map. Someone around 40 inches.
Welcome to BritBox.
This is the news streaming hub. And county leaders there holding a news conference about 90 minutes ago to update us on how they are preparing to weather the storm.
Morgan Norwood is live in Fayetteville. So Morgan, what are they doing this time around?
Okay, as I want to say, we're starting to see a little bit of gusty winds and rain, nothing like we're going to see in a few hours. And as you mentioned, local leaders really putting out that final call for everyone to prepare, get to those shelters if you can. We're just hours away from Florence's arrival. As of this afternoon, leaders had their coordination center up and running. You can think of this room as the brainchild. We have fire, rescue, and police just keeping close watch on the resources ahead of the storm. Now, on the county level, we had a similar setup. Their dispatch, though, is wired to take in a flood of phone calls expected in the coming days. As for the shelters, the city says there have been close to 300 check-ins, 286 people in them right now. But with a storm like Florence, they are hoping more people choose to evacuate. And here in downtown, we've got a first for Fayetteville. We saw businesses boarding up, bracing for those heavy winds. During a press conference just moments ago, city leaders urging residents to make those final plans.
Everybody listening, I need your help. I want to recruit you to join the team of the first responders that are about to go into this storm tonight. And with that being said, your contribution is avoiding the problems that might invoke us having to come get you out of a bad situation. If you can stay at home, stay at home. Heed the warnings, respect the barricades, and you can do so much by not getting involved in a bad situation that may easily take your life.
So I want to point out those 286 people are in shelters scattered across the county. We have 7 of them, but I will say W.T. Brown shelter is virtually empty, just about 10 people in those right now. Fast Transit has suspended buses, but they will be transporting people to shelters as needed. The cutoff time for that is going to be 8 p.m. So again, go ahead and make your arrangements right now. We're in Fayetteville. I'm Morgan Norwood, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.
Preparing for flooding there in Fayetteville with Morgan. Thank you. We'll check back in. And next at 4, Jonah Kaplan continues our live team coverage from Myrtle Beach.
Plus, we're going to show you how Goldsboro is preparing 2 years after Matthew. And as we go to break, a dramatic picture from Topsail Beach today. The beach town posting this picture on its Facebook page as the ocean roared ashore there. Overwash has eroded the dunes and was meant to protect those homes. To impact our coast here in North Carolina.
We have team coverage from the coast to our community, but we begin with our team of meteorologists working hard. Chief Meteorologist Eleni Pope, how are we looking right now?
As you mentioned, the tropical storm force winds are already on the coast. The hurricane force winds yet to come. You can see how large this storm is. Would cover Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina easily. Now, it will shrink in size some as it makes landfall, but right now we do have those hurricane force winds out about 80 miles from the center, and it's actually just over 100 miles right now from Wilmington and Myrtle Beach, roughly. And it is moving very slowly to the west-northwest at about 5 miles an hour, which extends the time frame, the length, the duration that they'll be battered. It looks like it'll come on shore maybe later on tonight, but still going to be battering the coastline through the day tomorrow and into Saturday because of that slow movement. It has 105-mile-per-hour winds, making it a Category 2 storm. You can see sustained winds mainly out of the north and northwest at about 10 to 25 miles an hour, but gusts are higher than that. We're even seeing some of the breezes increasing where we are. The latest track brings it on shore overnight early tomorrow morning, and then by Saturday morning moving it inland into the PD of South Carolina, and then pushing it into the upstate perhaps by Sunday morning, and then we're expecting that northward turn. That will have a huge impact on how much rain we get here locally. Down east, 20 to 30 inches is still the forecast, with life-threatening flooding up to 40 inches. Also, those damaging winds, especially along the I-95 corridor. Those winds are going to be really strong in areas like Fayetteville and Greenville as well. Of course, they're going to be strongest along the coastline, but you're looking at hurricane force winds inland, and then even toward Raleigh and the Triad, we'll be seeing some strong winds too. We could have some gusts in excess of 40 miles an hour in parts of the Triad. We're not under the tropical storm warning area, but that of course could change. Let's check in with Michelle Kennedy for more on wind.
Yeah, letting you know what is driving, unfortunately, the storm surge is the wind along the coast. And the fact that it's slowed down, we're seeing some 6 to 9 feet, rather, as we go out toward Wilmington and south. But 9 to 13 feet from Wrightsville Beach north out toward Atlantic Beach. And here are the winds so far. We're seeing those gusts anywhere from 56 miles an hour in the Bogue Inlet area earlier, as well as Hatteras, and some 85-mile-an-hour gusts reported at Cape Lookout, as you reported earlier. Wind gusts currently in the Triad, and yes, this is an impact from Hurricane Florence. They're up to 21 in Greensboro, 21 miles an hour now in Asheboro, as well as 23 in Burlington. The gusts will
Head in eastern North Carolina, also in the bullseye for the damaging winds and the catastrophic flooding that is expected. The South Carolina coast are taking a licking from this Category 2 hurricane.
Yeah, the storm now less than 200 miles away from Myrtle Beach, and that's where we find Jonah Kaplan, who was a hurricane hunter for us yesterday in the sky. Now he's down on the ground in South Carolina. Jonah, what's it looking like there now? We've lost Jonah Kaplan just like that. We'll move on from there. We can go back now to our team of meteorologists.
Yes, they're busy tracking all of the conditions that are changing very quickly. They have been giving updates on Facebook Live as well and answering questions. Brittany Bell is here with the latest information coming into the First Alert Storm Center. Brittany?
Yeah, and that 5 o'clock update just dropped in. Not much of a huge change in that track, but looking at that weakening to a Category 1 as that makes landfall. But here's the latest look at Hurricane Florence. Just a massive storm. The outer edge of that already moving throughout the coastal plain, and we do have a few showers pushing into our area. Here's a look at the distance between Wrightsville Beach and the eye of that hurricane, the strongest part, about 100 miles away. That is slowly moving to the west. It really has lost a lot of speed over the past few days, and that's why we're in for that potential for life-threatening flooding, especially across the southeastern corner of the state. Here's a look at some of those showers across our area moving to the south. Nothing severe at this point, but but there is a tornado watch. That tornado watch is out for the coastal plain until 9 p.m. But the latest update from the Storm Prediction Center, that has shifted that marginal risk a tad bit farther to the west. So that now includes sections of Goldsboro, Rocky Mount, also Sampson County. So these areas along and east of Interstate 95 throughout the rest of the evening until very early tomorrow morning, you could see a low-end threat for a brief spin-up tornado. So here's the latest update for Hurricane Florence. That is a Category 2 hurricane. Maximum winds around 100 miles per hour. Looking closely at that track, still expected to make landfall near the southern North Carolina coast as a Category 1 hurricane. Maximum winds around 85 miles per hour. But still, this is going to be a large storm, so don't let your guard down just yet. Moving very slowly, notice only getting into sections of South Carolina through Saturday and Sunday. So that's why that threat for very heavy rainfall is going to be a big issue, and then weakening as that moves into western South Carolina, pushing into Tennessee, weakening into a tropical depression. So here's a look at the impacts for us. Limited impacts for our northern counties near the Virginia border, but you could still see gusty winds and also heavy rainfall. Now closer to the triangle, this is near Butner, Chapel Hill, Wake Forest, Lewisburg, Halifax. 6 to 8 inches of rain possible. Sustained winds between 20 and 30 miles per hour, gusting as high as 40 to 45 miles per hour. And then in southern Lake County, high impacts with increased threat to life and property. So that includes Sanford, Lillington, Holly Springs, Smithfield, Wilson, and Tarboro. 7 to 10 inches of rain is possible. Winds gusting between 30 to 40 miles, sustained winds between 30 and 40 miles per hour, gusting as high as 50 miles per hour. And then that highest threat, that will be across the Sandhills. You can see extreme impacts with significant threat to life and property. 10 to 20 inches of rain possible, sustained winds up to 50 miles per hour, gusting as high as 60 to 70 miles per hour. So we'll see that continuing to push off to the west. More of that rainfall pushing into the Sandhills as we head into Friday. And then we can see some of those showers getting closer to the triangle by Friday night. Joel, Amber.
Brittany, thank you. Of course, we're focusing in hard on our viewing area, but look, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, going to get slammed as well.
Yeah, we just saw Brittany do the track, and it goes straight through Myrtle Beach. And we want to go back now to Jonah Kaplan, who is in Myrtle Beach. We didn't have his live picture a few minutes ago, but you are clear as day now, Jonah. We can see conditions behind you.
Yeah, Amber, Joel, it's kind of amazing to stand here and see first just how many people are kind of out behind me. You got families, small kids. It's a comfortable afternoon here in Myrtle Beach, and also look how calm the water is. I mean, not a ripple, not a white cap. Some people, some daredevils like to come out here and maybe, you know, ride the surf, but there is no surf here. And as we drove around Myrtle Beach today, eerily quiet for a town that's usually buzzing with tourists, with attractions. All of this shut down. We went through a couple of neighborhoods today, and a lot of people, kind of a, I would say, cautious optimism about the downgrading of the storm, knowing that the winds might be calmer, but they are well aware of the danger that could come with all of that soaking rain and prolonged rain. And it doesn't have to flood for the water to make an impact on a home.
That's the biggest concern is the mold, the mildew, this, you know, the insects that come with that, mosquitoes, you know, everything, because it gets hot and humid after a storm.
Also, we are learning today that the police department here in Myrtle Beach and throughout this Horry County area imposing a curfew starting at 7 o'clock tonight through 7 tomorrow morning. They want everyone inside, and that's going to be indefinitely. So, yes, the storm isn't even here yet, but they're already saying the next several days, everyone off the roads, inside between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. We're making sure also that we're going to be safe as the storm rolls in here as well. We're live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Jonah Kaplan, ABC 11, Eyewitness News.
Jonah Kaplan in that tourist town in South Carolina that's about to go lockdown. Jonah, thank you. Meantime, eastern North Carolina still reeling from Hurricane Matthew's flooding. Wayne County was especially hard hit. Homeowners near the Neuse River and the Little River forced out by the high water. Tim Pulliam is in Goldsboro right now as people pay close attention to Florence. Tim, what's the mood there?
But right now, Joel, there are 6 shelters open here in Wayne County, and crews had to open up additional shelters throughout the day because they were concerned that they would be reaching capacity, and they are urging neighbors to get off the road and be in place where they plan to hunker down by 5 o'clock this evening, which is just a short time away. Wayne County is no stranger to hurricanes and flooding. In 2016, Hurricane Matthew ravaged this area with 15 inches of rain. That rain was dumped into the Neuse River. The river swelled and it spilled into this community. They are warning neighbors that the same conditions could happen with Hurricane Florence. Now, earlier this afternoon, we were in Seven Springs, and it was a ghost town. That is because Seven Springs is a flood zone area. Nearby Seven Springs, we saw a family preparing to move their cattle to higher ground, and they said that they were doing that because in 1999, Hurricane Floyd devastated their farm.
We came out here and 96 cows were dead, laying here dead. And that's why we're trying to prevent that now. Because he's down to 6 cows.
So you don't want to go to higher ground, maybe go to a shelter in town?
Well, we live in a flood zone, but Doc, he's not, so he's right there on the stage. So if he goes under, we're all under, so I'll be up there then.
Oh, okay.
We're going to hang out until we got no other choice, though.
So you just heard from that family that they are going to stick it out in Seven Springs, which, like I said, is a flood-prone area. They are doing it at their own risk. And officials tell me that they will not be responding to emergencies once the winds start blowing at 50 miles per hour. So again, people are taking a risk who are staying in flood-prone areas. Amber and Joe.
All right, Tim pulling for us live in Goldsboro, where they are bracing for the flooding there. We'll keep an eye on that, Tim. Thank you. Another county not taking any chances from this storm, Sampson County. This is video from the flooding caused by Matthew in 2016. Dozens of homes were destroyed. The area could see from 10 to 20 inches of rain, and that is why officials opened 11 shelters due to mandatory evacuations for portions of the southern county. Service animals, though, they are not allowed at the general population shelters. However, other pet sheltering is being offered at the Sampson County Livestock Arena that is in Clinton.
And right now it's for Julie Wilson tweeting out the new shelters are open here in Wake County after 3 emergency shelters reached capacity. 3 new shelters are open. Anyone needing to evacuate can find shelter at Heritage High School in Wake Forest, Middle Creek High School in Apex, and Sanderson High in Raleigh. Julie was over at Garner High School today where she met some evacuees in here from our coast.
Well, just inside the shelter here at Garner High School, they are telling me they are at capacity, and that is the case at the other 2 shelters here in Wake County. I did speak with one official here, and they told me that they could accommodate 1 or 2 walk-ins, but essentially they are full. They are at capacity. Many people that we talked to here are from the coast, leaving the coastline. One family said they took a bus here, a ride that lasted 12+ hours. They were turned away from 2 other shelters that were at capacity before finding shelter here.
I would have died. I would have died from anxiety if my daughter didn't take me out from there and bring me somewhere that's way far from the storm. I had the experience last summer in Florida.
Gemma, of course, talking about Hurricane Irma that ripped over the Sunshine State. We have made calls to other counties in our area. If you would like to find out what those shelters are that are accepting people still, I would encourage you to go over to my Twitter page, Julie ABC11. I've tweeted out a link for that information. In Garner, Julie Wilson, ABC11 Eyewitness News.
Julie, thank you. And the Apex Swiftwater Rescue Team is ready to respond if the conditions worsen. This is video as the crews prepared their backpacks with ropes and supplies they might need. The team's rescue boats are also ready to go. They have been under a state activation since 8 o'clock Wednesday night. The Apex Swiftwater Rescue performed several missions during Hurricane Matthew. And down east areas fearful this afternoon about what Hurricane Florence may bring.
That includes communities along the Tar River. Coming up next at Crump reports live from Greenville at College Town, bracing for potential flood. He'll have a look at the conditions there.
We look live at conditions here. This is Nags Head. This is one of the piers there where the surf is starting to churn and pick up. We're seeing some of those outer rain bands moving in, and the winds are starting to pick up as Hurricane Florence.
This portion of 80 flash flood warning of this event
for folks right there in Carteret County at the North Carolina coast. You see the spin right here, you see the swirl, and it is slowly, ever so slowly, making its way closer and closer to North Carolina. As of the 5 p.m. advisory, this just came out a little bit before 5 p.m. Max sustained winds down to 100 miles per hour, but that's still a lot of wind. And even outside of the winds, the storm surge is still going to be on the order of a Category 3 or Category 4 hurricane. So folks right there along the coast need to take this seriously. It's slowly moving to the west-northwest at 5 miles per hour. We expect it to continue to slow down as we go on into this evening. As far as the current winds that are sustained, 30 to 40 mile per hour winds right now at the coast, at least at the recording station, but the wind's even higher than that right on the beach. We can see winds right now as we speak on the order of a 50 to 60 mile per hour sustained wind. And we even have some breezy conditions well away from the center. Greensboro, 13 mile per hour winds, 9 mile per hour winds currently in Raleigh. Here's the track to the northwest for the next several hours. And then as we go through Friday, possibly making landfall somewhere near Wilmington, then just slowly drifting to the south on into Saturday before it starts to turn more to the north and west as we head through the weekend into early next week. One thing to keep in mind is although we see the center of circulation probably going to our south, we're still on the right side of the storm, and that's where you usually see the highest winds and the majority of the rainfall, and rainfall is going to be a big concern for us around here. Futurecast model still showing that stalling or very slow motion as it begins to make landfall. The worst of the rain in the state by far down towards Wilmington, 15 to 20 inches of rain, possibly up to 30 for some of them. For us, higher rain totals to the south, closer to the center. So if you live south of I-40, somewhere probably 6 to 10 inches on the high end, 4 to 6 inches of rainfall on the high end if you live north of I-40. We've broken down the threats here. As far as the winds, it's just going to get windier as we go through tomorrow, on into Saturday. Probably mainly dry. I don't say mainly dry, but we're not going to see a whole bunch of rain tomorrow. Then as we go into tomorrow night into Saturday, the rain will begin to pick up, and that's when we're going to start to see the possibility of some flash flooding. Again, the worst of that will likely be Saturday on into Sunday before we start to see the threat of flash flooding beginning to diminish. And I can't rule out an isolated tornado starting late Friday on into Sunday. That's the latest on Florence right now. We're going to continue to keep a very close eye on it and keep you updated on air and online.
Tran, thank you. Our team coverage continues now with WFMY News 2's Jansen Silvers, who is live in Alamance County.
And Jansen, how are people in that area getting ready for Florence?
Well, so far, I'm actually in Mebane, which is pretty much as east as you can get in Alamance County. And as we know, the farther east, probably the quicker this thing is going to hit. That's just the way it comes in. And so the big thing, crews here have been preparing all day and throughout Alamance County, making sure that people have the best chance of staying safe. And as we know, like Taran just said, the biggest thing that everyone is concerned about with this storm for our area is the rain, is the flooding and all of that. And so the big thing that they're trying to do is keep those clear. They're trying to keep storm drains clear. And so from Alamance to Graham to Mebane, you know, they've gone all throughout the county clearing out debris. And a lot of that debris can be little things just like this. And although it's kind of small, this is only from one tree that I just picked up just a few yards away. But this tree after tree after tree and rocks and everything else that comes through will block those storm drains, and that is when you can get flooding in the streets. And as we've also said, once you see flooding in the streets, you do not want to go through that, and that's how people can get stuck, how people can get trapped. So the crews throughout Alamance County have been working hard throughout the past few days, and they're going to continue working. I'll have more on what they're doing coming up tonight at 5, 5:30, and 6.
Rocky.
That is a good piece of advice, Joel. I hope people have thought about this. You know, you can make all the hurricane plans you want to get all the supplies you want, but if you don't tell friends and family, especially away from the area, what your plans are, then if you run into trouble, they may not realize you're in trouble. So definitely inform friends and family about what your situation is, how you hope to get in touch with them, when you hope to get in touch with them, so if something goes awry, they'll know to have somebody come looking for you.
Yeah, I live 100 miles away from there, Ed, and I called my mother this morning. Well, she texted me first.
Make sure everyone's okay.
Communicate. Yeah, let's let people know.
It's key. Thanks, Ed. Well, the flooding's already started on the North Carolina coast.
Yeah, take a look at this video. This is New Bern in Crittenden County, the Riverside Park. Now underwater right now, so it's already happening, and there is a live look at Kitty Hawk, Outer Banks, Dare County. Boy, the waves are getting rough there now. The surf really picking up. This is an area that should have been evacuated at least a couple of days ago, so those beaches are clear. The surf getting rough. Florence getting closer. Back in a minute.
In the Sandhills, some 40 to 70 mile per hour winds, and of course they're preparing for catastrophic flooding. Some 20 to 30 inches. The National Hurricane Statement at 5 o'clock has not changed the numbers at all. All right, here's the time frame for this weekend. Friday, you've got a coastal hurricane, so if you have property there, it is mainly Friday. It'll be windy here. Saturday, you've still got tropical showers that are starting to move through, and they're going to start to head our way on Saturday. And then we've got our heavy rain and flood threat starting late Saturday into Sunday and Monday in our neck of the woods. How much rain? Well, as we mentioned, 20 plus, a good deal across to the east, some 10 to 15 inches moving inland. And then in our area, right now we think 5 to 10 inches is a safe forecast. I will tell you, if this turns a little bit sooner, if it slows down, those numbers are likely going to go up. So I want you to prepare. I think this is a safe 5 to 10 in our area with a flash flooding threat, with lesser amounts a little bit farther to the north, some 3 to 5 inches as we move up into Virginia. Saturday into Monday, that's when we anticipate our heaviest rainfall. That means streams, creeks, and rivers could overflow their banks onto roads. We've already seen that with all the rain in August. Localized flash flooding and isolated foot totals are a possibility. Friday, again, we've got the wind and we've got tropical showers. Saturday, we may deal with some heavy rain and downpours, and we've got that flood threat as well. Take a look at the rain right now. There are a few showers just to the east. You can see some of them. These are actually associated with Florence, already moving inland. So a couple little sprinkles here and there over Alamance County. We may see some of this as we go into the evening. It'll be confined to our eastern triad. The rest, of course, is associated with this, and it's farther to the east. You see the winds right now sustained at about 20 to 30 miles an hour. Gusts, though, that are being reported anywhere between 40 to 80 miles an hour already as this storm comes in a little bit closer. You can see some of the gusts there being reported along the coastline right now. For us, this is what we anticipate in the next 24 hours. A steady northeast wind at 20 to 40 miles an hour during the day tomorrow. 76 at noon with a high of 81. We'll see some scattered showers and a chance for thunderstorm tomorrow afternoon. In the foothills, your wind's not quite as strong, about 15 to 30. Tropical shower chance tomorrow, but most of the rain for the foothills and mountains holds off until Friday night into Saturday as a possibility. For the mountains, northeast wind at 5 to 10, so not too terribly windy. High temperature is 78 degrees tomorrow. This shows you how you can plan here. Watch some of the heavy rain bands as they move into Myrtle Beach and Wilmington, of course, through the day on Friday. And watch your time up here. This will give you an idea of the position of the storm. That is early Saturday. And then we're going to push it into Saturday afternoon. And you can see most of the heavy rain is to our south, but then this is going to slowly move inland and then start to turn to the north. So some of the rainfall forecasts do have excessive rain between now and Saturday on the coastline, with our main thrust of rain coming a little bit later. I do want to show you the latest track here, and we'll push forward until we get to that. You'll watch this storm system coming in to parts of South Carolina and then working its way to the north. Let's take a look at our 7-day forecast, where we have got temperatures that are going to be in the 70s, clouds, and yes, windy, wet conditions in our forecast.
Thank you, Lainey. Still to come, what the president said about Puerto Rico that even some in his own party.
Those outer bands of Florence as it arrives, as you know, as we've been showing you, this is about 34 miles off the coast of Bald Head Island. Old Glory not faring very well as Florence arrives. We'll show you that governor's news conference live from Raleigh as it happens here at 5 o'clock. And Chris is getting the 5 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center. We always get that updated track, that new data at 5 o'clock. Is it coming in yet, Chris?
Yeah, it's in, and not many changes. Florence is a little bit weaker once again, but the impacts in terms of wind and especially the devastating rain for some isn't going to change. The change, though, that we do have is a tropical storm warning has now been extended into parts of the triangle. We'll show you that coming up, Steve.
We'll see you for the details on that, the 5 o'clock update in a few minutes. Chris, thanks. And David Muir and the ABC News team is also positioned across North and South Carolina tonight. David, in fact, is anchoring this broadcast from Wilmington tonight. We'll be talking to him during the 5 o'clock hour. Amber, Joel, we'll see you in a few minutes.
We'll see you then, Steve. Thanks. And after months of planning for that perfect day, Hurricane Florence, it is forcing at least one couple. I know it affected a lot of people. They had to move their beach wedding.
Yeah, the entire wedding is being moved from Wilmington out west to Asheville. Bride-to-be Kristen Wilson and her fiance Michael Bishanazes were just days away from their dream wedding in Wilmington, but with much of the area being evacuated, look, they had to make a decision. Put their wedding on hold or move it.
I'm in love with Wilmington, and we're really excited about just a small little white chapel. We really just had to come to the conclusion that it just didn't look like it was be safe for anybody to travel.
So they made some calls and moved the entire celebration to Asheville. The couple also having to change their honeymoon plans. Instead of a week in Charleston, they are going to Florida instead. So, hey, congrats to you guys.
At least they're still able to pull it off.
Yeah,
I know some people that had to cancel on Saturday.
And Asheville ain't a bad place to have
beautiful.
a wedding. It's beautiful. The honeymoon in Florida. Still ahead. Eyewitnesses will have around-the-clock coverage of Hurricane Florence.
Next at 4, we'll take a look at how you can stay connected throughout this storm. Meantime, here's the conditions right outside our window on Fayetteville Street in downtown Raleigh. It is cloudy and a little bit of wind coming through Fayetteville Street, but nothing too severe just yet in Raleigh, at least. Very different story on the coast already, as they're starting to see some of the effects, the impacts of Hurricane Florence 2018.
Are rising. At its peak, wind speeds are expected to reach 100 miles an hour with a storm surge of about 13 feet high. WFMY News 2's Hannah Brewer is in Wilmington with more.
As Hurricane Florence approaches the East Coast, this is a common sight. Businesses boarded up in preparation for the storm. But as you continue to walk down Front Street in downtown Wilmington, you'll see this Irish pub that is open for business. Folks are outside having a drink. There's even dogs out here hanging out. People we spoke with say this is just common and what you should expect living on the coast.
Don't get scared. Be smart. Prepare yourself and don't do stupid stuff.
While they may be open for business, it's still important for folks to take this storm seriously. We are expected to see some major flooding, so stay safe, folks.
All right, thank you so much, Hannah. Remember to keep yourself and your family safe before, during, and after Hurricane Florence makes landfall.
Download the free WFMY News 2 app. There you can track the radar right down to your neighborhood.
You can also follow our News 2 page and our meteorologists on social media. We're constantly updating how Florence is moving.
Intense rainfall spiraling around to the north and to the west of the center of circulation. We're seeing heavy rain, and we're seeing wind gusts now up to 80 miles an hour or so right around the Cape Lookout area, right around the Pamlico Sound. Sustained tropical storm force winds. So we are looking at conditions deteriorating here as Florence continues to nudge its way to the west-northwest. The futurecast shows us that center of circulation turning westward overnight in early morning hours. So that's where the heaviest of the rain will focus farther to the west, but not to the north. And the same is true with the winds. Those hurricane force winds will be moving more towards the west around that circulation center than up to the north, but there will be some significant winds and wave action all the way up into southeast Virginia.
With worsening weather patterns, an aging vulnerable power grid, and the growing risk of cyber terrorism, power outages
211 on your screen there. And ABC 11 is working to keep you updated with all the critical information that you need to know about this life-threatening storm.
Yeah, you can find the updated forecast right now on abc11.com. See the watches, see the warnings. You'll also find all the closings. And don't forget about the ABC 11 app. You can view live Doppler radar and all the weather alerts. If you don't have the app, download it now, and sign up for push alerts. You can, and remember, you can always follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. We are streaming our nonstop coverage of Hurricane Florence right now on our social media platforms.
And if your power goes out, you can check in on those platforms as well, because we will still continue to broadcast.
That is exactly right. Our hurricane coverage continues right now.
Here's Steve and Tisha.
Right now at 5, feeling the effects of Hurricane Florence.
But we think as we go through the rest of today,
are only going up from here, as we have already seen winds gusting around 40 miles an hour, and the potential exists for those winds to exceed 75 miles an hour as we go through the later hours of our Thursday and throughout much of Friday. So tonight into Friday, that's when things are going to be the most active here in the Wilmington area. But that's not the only time frame we watch for the effects in Wilmington. We're going to be watching for tropical storm force wind gusts to extend all the way into Saturday. And then there's the rain component. The rain has begun to fall here, and it's not going to let up as we go through the next 2 days. We could be looking at record-setting rainfall here, a forecast of over 2 feet of rain likely, and that's going to lead to inland flooding. And then, Dr. Nav, we've also got the surge along the coast we'll be talking about, but we've got a new update from the National Hurricane Center. Let's get the very latest information from them on that.
Okay, so we have a few important changes to pass along, a few changes to watches and warnings, and this is the beginning of the landfall process. Okay, the center has not come ashore, but a lot of the weather has arrived on the coast of North Carolina. It's a Category 2 hurricane, max winds 100 miles per hour. That pressure is really low, 955 millibars. No matter what the max sustained winds are, when you've got a pressure that low, it's either going to be a small, intense hurricane or a large but still powerful hurricane. And look at that forward speed. The brakes are being applied as we speak, west-northwest at only 5 miles an hour, and you can see that the motion is becoming less and less well-defined. There's a lot more wobbling going on when you look at it on the radar. But again, there's the center still offshore, and it's still got the Gulf Stream to go over to help maintain a good amount of its strength before it eventually comes on shore. I'll just show you the brand new forecast cone. And again, it's important to emphasize that it's not necessarily going to stay on a consistent forward speed.
School systems announced they are canceling classes tomorrow. We've learned today that Guilford County and Alamance County Burlington schools will be closed tomorrow.
Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools are closed tomorrow, as well as Lexington City and Rockingham County schools.
And check this out. Several stores in downtown Greensboro are closing up shop before Florence